Welcome to Under the Hood.
Hello and welcome back to Under the Hood, the sales and marketing show that goes under the hood of the latest tech, tools and trends to help you work smarter. It's that time of year again, inbound. And with inbound, as always, a bunch of new HubSpot releases and updates and insights this year and even a new playbook. Today's episode of HubSpot's product updates to power your customer journey will be unlocking a lot of this. And with me here today is our creative director, Glenn. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Back again. Very much FOMO today, missing out on inbound, not being over there, but very excited and pretty overwhelming to say the least. There's a lot of updates, a lot of things being shared and shown. So looking forward to getting to know it and understand all those things over the coming months.
Perfect. There is a lot to unpack, and you may notice that I am missing the usual regular host today. Never fear, he is here. He's coming with us from all the way over the seas in great San Francisco. Tony.
Well, howdy, folks. Yep, direct on a very noisy part. I have actually stepped out of the inbound conference because 12,000 people running away. I wasn't quite ready for that, just dodging them and everything. But yeah, live from San Francisco, coming to you to share all of that kind of impact, if you like Lenny was just saying, about what we've just gone through for the last couple of days. There's still one more day to go, but I think we've got enough to share for at least one or two episodes. We'll squeeze it all in now.
Very exciting. And if you had to wrap up so far what you've seen from this year's conference in one word, what would it be?
People. Too many.
Too many. Lots of.
Too many people. We get past the people aspect, but I would say it's basically the word unified, and this happened at the very start. So we had Partner Day, and then we went into that's the tram, by the way, if you can hear it coming in the background, up and down, the old tram that people do as tourists. But that's not unified. Unified is the name of the game from the very first Partner Day that we had on the beginning of the week, and then right the way through this whole thing. Unified, it means a number of different things, but obviously we know the opposite of unified. We know that things don't work necessarily well. Things are uncoupled. Data is all over the shop. So the idea is bringing back unification in a number of different ways is the word.
Fantastic. I know we from what we've seen and the spotlights and the recordings and things we've been watching, it's going to be really interesting. The power of the new releases is going to be really centered around that idea of unified data. AI is fantastic. We've been having this AI conversation for quite a long time now, but without the idea of unified data and unified products and functions, it's really going to be interesting that you're not going to really be able to unlock as much of the power of these AI updates.
I think so. I think, business leaders have said that, and we kind of know this, guys, because we've worked a lot with our clients, and, data, or I should say, because I'm in San Francisco, data is kind of like the last thing people think about, but it's the most important thing in 2025. And as you were saying, Mel, off the back of some of these new releases, but they were saying that data is either trapped, siloed, or just plain bad data. 80% of the data is lost in conversations. It could be calls that the sales team have done, which hasn't been captured into the CRM. It could be support tickets from a service perspective that could show you patterns in terms of how your business is serving your customers, or even just plain meeting notes that could give you context. All of this data needs to come together and, in the one word, become unified and not lost.
For me, the thing there is around the maturity of all the teams working together. So like we do in an agency, we've got design teams, account management teams, sales teams, and some teams have folders and structures around how they organize and naming conventions behind files so other people can find stuff, and then in other situations we've got information that lives on people's desktops, in people's emails, in people's Slacks, and it can make it really hard as a global team working together to be able to cooperate and collaborate. And it's very much the same here, where we've got a central system where we want all that data. There needs to be a process and a maturity behind all teams kind of doing the same thing, singing from the same song sheet, and like coming up with a system that everyone uses. And I think that's going to be, like, there was a lot of talk previously with HubSpot about adoption. And I think that's more important now than ever, that all teams buy in and adopt to the same system, because if they're not, there is going to be gaps and the AI tools won't be able to be as powerful as they can be.
Absolutely. You've got to think of AI as like another team member, right? If you're only giving them 20% access to 20% of your data, think about the results, and they're going to be really limited. So you've got to view AI as part of the team, and how you then get them access to data and structuring it in a way, and removing these unstructured data clusters that a lot of businesses often have.
I think it's 100% as well. Like, HubSpot's goal has always been, if you look at the logo, the sprocket, it's all about coupling things together. And at the center of it, and they never said this, I'm just thinking of it now, is that center part is the data, right? Because, you know, HubSpot was built on a CRM, and we might get to talk about how that CRM is even changing, which is all part of just everything's been, you know, not rebuilt, but kind of re-engineered is probably the best way for an AI growth world. But you're right, unstructured data is just going to, like they always say, bad data in, bad data out. But don't forget, AI is artificial intelligence, but it's also machine learning. So if you've got bad data in there, it's learning from bad data. So it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get smarter. So I think, yeah, you're right. We just got to start with, you know, some really good thinking about how to clean up and structure the data we have.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of themes around AI, and it's always, HubSpot does a fantastic job at making sure it's everywhere and through the platform. Aside from AI, for me, the most exciting update at Inbound was the introduction of a new loop marketing playbook. We've all been there for, the previous playbooks and the previous kind of inbound methodology, but, you know, what we heard is the funnel isn't flowing anymore. The lead generation, as we know it, is changing. We're on the cusp of the biggest transformation in our world since, I think Yamini referenced, since almost the internet. So HubSpot describes it, loop marketing is designed to drive momentum in the funnel in an AI era. So, you know, Tony, what are your thoughts on the new playbooks? And I'm sure there's lots of chatter at Inbound.
You know, it's funny, Mel, because they put a big slide up that said the funnel isn't flowing. But yet, 2016, Brian Halligan got up on stage and said the funnel was dead. So how could it even be flowing? It's either dead or it's not flowing. But anyway, the funnel is, we've gone past the funnel. There is no more funnel. So as everyone will know, if you've been using HubSpot for a while, and part of that kind of inbound journey that we've all been on, we had the flywheel, which basically took away the aspect of having a funnel that finished at customers when we knew that's really where the relationship began, and it shrunk as it went down, whereas we don't want to lose people if we look after them well. So, yeah, I was super excited to see, obviously, because we've actually for once a little bit ahead of the game, because we've had the infinity track out now for a couple of years. So it was good to see the infinity symbol being used in a different way. But, yeah, you're right. There's, as Yamini put it, it's the AI playbook for growth. So the whole idea of putting it into, it's not dissimilar, just maybe some rewording, some re-engineering to the flywheel, but it's just put into this idea that instead of just spinning and driving energy, it's now an endless loop.
Is there any thoughts on, like, it's called loop marketing? So obviously it's focused around marketing, not the full journey of, you know, into sales and service and delight.
Yeah, I think what it is, and one of these things I said, Lenny, to a few of the team is I think it's great that HubSpot is finally giving some love to the Marketing Hub. Because when HubSpot first started, it was Marketing Hub, and then let's call them our friends across the way at Salesforce. In fact, we are in San Fran, which is Salesforce territory, so I've got to speak quietly, otherwise they could shut this whole podcast down. But in effect, so marketing was HubSpot and sales was Salesforce, and eventually the two separated and they built their own sales engines to go with their marketing engines. But over the years, we've seen a lot of releases happening year after year, and I've said, when are we going to give some love back to marketing? Like, it's such a critical thing, especially in today's world where marketing is harder than ever before. And when we start to look at AI, you think of marketing, right? How can I use AI to help me be more specific about my target market, to produce content at scale, all of these kind of stuff. So I think that was the idea of having Loop focus on marketing. I think in terms of, all I'll say is you start with the marketing and the Loop, and then you get a bit broader and a bit more mature, and you move on to the infinity track. Lenny, does that answer it?
I just also like, through experience of being, working on campaigns with clients, I think it's more and more important that the marketing teams think and consider about those other elements in terms of pushing into sales and what happens after we do what we do. So yeah, I just think it's super cool that there's like a new playbook for us, and a lot of it for me still breaches into like how are we handing over and what information are we gathering to give the people in the next phases of the journey.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Loop is, as you touched on, we picked up, it's all about marketing, right? But then there's that aspect of the fact that it's been designed for AI. So I think it's going to be really interesting for businesses to talk about, the first section of the Loop is Express, and everyone talks about brand identity, and I think businesses have an essence and understanding of who they are across their marketing teams and across the business. But the shift for, I think, our clients and even us is about how we write documents around brand identity and voice and tone that actually speak to the machines and that can be picked up and understood, and in a way that continues to work through the Loop and amplifies really the message in a personalized way to buyers.
And do you think it's because they also talk about how the buyers that are coming to the website are so much more ready to buy, that the marketing piece, so all of the context online or the content that we deliver online, needs to do all the selling for us practically?
Yeah, it was interesting. That was one of the key call outs I got from Yamini Spotlight was that you're going to get less visitors. Like the era of visitors coming to your website is really dead, but what you are going to get on your website is a really rich audience that is a lot more in tune and ready to buy, and you've got to be have a better experience around personalizing and tailoring the content to their needs.
I think one of the things as well that they did share, I don't know if it was Yamini or the reason why they came up with this Loop marketing was HubSpot's always been about education, right? And one of the big things that they do is put out a lot of content, a lot of blogs, and they've always generated their lead funnel, if you like, through using blogs. But they noticed over the last few years, their actual blogs engagement has gone down. Their visitors have gone down. People are just not absorbing that anymore. So I think having this, what I loved about it first, and this is close to, I know, Lenny and my heart, is that Express part, as you were saying, Mel, is not different to what we're doing. It's just been called Express. It's define your ICP. That's your ideal customer profile. That's persona work, right? We've always said, even in the inbound world, it starts with your persona. How well do you understand your audience? Second to that is to define your voice and your tone. That's brand, right? We're finally bringing brand, and we do a bit of work with clients, but it's more so now, what's your uniqueness? The whole infinity track that we built starts with brand and then continues through. So brand's in there. And then it's test your content.
And how many people that we work with don't have that defined?
Or have had it defined 10 years ago and have still pull out the original one slide with, this is Jim. Jim likes to read the newspaper.
That's meant to
the
drive
newspaper.
Absolutely.
If we're not clear on that internally, how are our buyers going to understand what we do?
How are the machines going to understand? This is where it's all going to change, right? The whole a lot of the theme in the spotlight and the inbound is that it's a collaboration between humans and AI, and if you're not on board with that, you're going to be left behind. So really excited to hear more about Loop marketing. Tony has some special guests and live from inbound, the episode after this one, he'll be diving a little bit more into the hood of Loop marketing, so we won't go into too much detail and give away any spoilers.
Oh, what a shame. We could do the whole session, but we won't.
Absolutely.
I think we'll lead into it. The only thing I will just finish off, because I think just the one last part about Express, we won't talk about the rest of them, as you said, tailor, amplify, and evolve more on the next episode. But the last part that we're doing already is test your content. Now, to me, that's your buyer journey mapping. It's understanding what is the content people need at various stages of the journey. You're talking differently to people as a lead as you are to someone that's a sales qualified lead. So those three areas: define your ICP, get your brand voice and your tone right, and then test your content are the three things. That's the first step. So I think we're already doing some of that. We just got to double down on it.
Absolutely. And the new playbook's exciting, but you've got to really look at the tools and put the work into to drive the infinity loop or drive the loop marketing track. So, there's a host, as always with any sort of HubSpot updates, there's a host of new features. I think there's over 200 once again, which is really exciting. We've got a new smart CRM. And Ops Hub's had a bit of a rebrand to Data Hub. There's a host of new features in Marketing Hub, and it's been reimagined, which we're all very excited about. Being a marketer, it's very passionate and close to my heart. Sales Hub is obviously a lot more powerful. There's a new prospecting agent. Commerce Hub has a new CPQ product, and let's not forget about Breeze. So what's new in Breeze, Tony? Take us through it.
Well, we just jumped over like about 200 new releases there, Mel, in about 5 points.
We'll get through them.
I know you're excited
one.
about Breeze, but what about Marketing Studio? Like, if you're going to do this new loop that we've touched on, you have to drive the model, right? So let me just touch on that for a second. So the Smart CRM is basically smart data, as we were talking about before, smart insights. So now the marketing team can actually use real-time insights on how customers have behaved, the content they've looked at, all by pulling this stuff together so that they can get real good insights for their campaign before they even launch the campaign. And then Smart Digest is like giving marketers this almost like summary of how everything's going and what they need to do. But to me, the game changer was the Marketing Studio, because I saw a very quick demo of it, but I had to get to literally, as Lenny would know because he's been across here before, and Mel is yet to go maybe next year to Inbound, but you're literally running from one session to another, picking up bite-sized kind of bits of content. But I saw the demo for Marketing Studio, and it basically starts with a campaign idea. That's all you give it. So for a marketing team that's thinking, we need to do something, we know our first part of ICP, we know what we need, we know our product, we know we need to get it to market, you just put in a campaign idea and then Marketing Studio starts working for you.
Yeah, the things I
thought that was
You're right. The things I had for Marketing Studio was around how it obviously generates the start of a campaign. So we all as marketers work on different ways of coming up with campaigns and building strategies. This is just another tool that kind of now brings it all into the one place. So it can help you create campaigns faster. You can collaborate now with the teams direct into HubSpot, which is for me awesome. Not having to use so many different tools, tools that don't get updated. So if you're building campaigns in tools outside of HubSpot and 2 months in, you're adding things or changing things, generally it's, you have to go back to the other things to keep them updated. Most of the time that doesn't happen. So I'm excited to see how good Marketing Studio is for collaboration and getting clients involved, and just that transparency around what's being built, which is really cool.
Yeah, we're excited to get in there and test Marketing Studio ourselves. I think it's interesting that we spoke about, steering the ship and have these long campaigns, and we spend, months planning and creating assets where we've just got to be agile and get in there and test and learn, and the data's there in real insight. So marketing teams are often going to have to adapt to jump into the fast lane and run smaller, more agile campaigns more frequently to really see what's working.
I think as well, one of the things that, again, stood out to me, and there's obviously lots of highlights, but so that's why I'm going to get excited and jump in. But again, you breezed over, if I can use that word, AI-powered email. Now, we're not only seeing that, blog posts are declining, like HubSpot said, but also email. Like, we do email campaigns, whether they be a sales sequence or a marketing campaign, and they're just not getting the return. We don't even know if people are opening them, what's going on. So this new tool called AI-powered email, HubSpot have claimed, so we need to trial this out because everyone was a bit kind of, wow, are you serious? They've claimed that by using it, it's increased conversion of their emails by 82%. Like, that's a massive shift if you think about it. So, an uptick of 82%, unless they were getting really bad conversions before, then it's not much. But I'm sure HubSpot knows how to email themselves. So I think it's part of this Marketing Studio, email AI and everything is what they've termed hyper-personalization at scale. And even one of my takeaways from Yamini in her keynote was that she said personalization has now become personal. So that's why those buyer personas are so important, and the data that we use about how people are absorbing our content, what they're interested in. We need to know more and more about our audience to get really personal, to get one-on-one. Like we always talk about that audience of one. It's even more important now that you have to bring context into it. So, it's having a bit of fun with email. It's not just dear first name. It's now kind of like, oh, we heard that your company X has been doing such and such. How's that working out for you? Like we need that kind of intel.
Yeah, my two, to your point there in terms of making it personal, the two key takeaways for AI-powered email that I took, and like an example of how it could be used in a marketing space, like, the marketing team might go out and build really good calculators or tools that are built to capture data in the CRM so we can really understand what are the needs or pains of a particular buyer. And then there might be an email campaign or a nurture that's set up off the back of that we used to maybe do with smart content, where we might send 3 or 4 or 5 different smart content blocks based on, 1 or 2 of the answers. The idea here is that it takes not only that information that we've got from the tool, but other personalized information and sends individual emails. So it's not just a blanket email to those people. It's actually writing content based on all the records and data that we have for each individual. So that'll be interesting to test and play with and see how good and what that looks like. And the other exciting thing or interesting thing I thought was the time-based sending. So you can choose, it gives you AI indications of when to send out. It could be batches of emails at specific times that would get better open rate, but it can also go down to the individual. So it will send Tony the email at 7:30, Mel the email at 1 a.m. in the morning because she's always working at that time. But I just think that was really cool as another feature, again, just to trial. So you can see how it's not just the content that's being personalized, it's also the timing when it gets sent, what we're speaking about. And the other thing that for me as a creative was interesting was the template creation in AI-powered email. So they're claiming that you can just drop HTML files, so say from a Figma file or a MailChimp file direct into the HubSpot tool, and it will develop that email template within minutes, not hours. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how good that works. And they claim in the future that they're potentially going to be trialing uploading an image. So upload an image of an email and it will build you that template ready to use. So
it's
very
wild.
exciting.
You've got to leverage AI for efficiency, right? Like I think humans and we, the marketing team, there's 100% still a space for us to be able to understand the data and create authenticity and translate the messages and, the content that's not being fed to, kind of through the machines. But you've got to leverage AI to ensure that you are sending messages at the right time and you're, hyper personalizing things where you can, and you're also becoming relevant. I think that's the biggest thing in this day and age. There's so many comms. We all have email exhaustion where there's so many things in your inbox, and I will tend to open things a little bit, spend a little bit more time on my emails if I'm receiving them at times where it's more convenient to me. So that there's 100% something in that for sure.
So let's talk about Breeze now that we've gone back on that, because I know Mel's always
rogue
excited
with the
about
episode
Breeze.
outline. You've forgotten you're a guest today. We did have a
rogue. Let's just call me a rogue guest. I don't stick to scripts. I know I'm trying to be the guest that normally does stick to scripts, but when I'm hosting, I don't.
Absolutely.
But I think one of the big things will, and actually, funny enough, just before we came on to record this, I was in it was kind of like a weird sense. We were in a room with about six other partners with Nicholas Holland, who was a previous guest. And it was almost, let's just call it an AI roundtable. And he was open with us about how he's working with his team on Breeze and AI and agents and assistants and how we fit into, the partner network. But one of the things that he did share with us was that, there's lots of errors that are going to happen. You're going to try stuff, it doesn't work. Copilot, originally, that they brought on is now Breeze Assist. And I think it makes more sense, actually. It's got a better sound than being a brand on its own. But I think this Breeze Assist is fantastic in the sense of it's your assistant. And, you have the two, and I think people need to understand there's an assistant and then there's also an agent. And we can talk about agents later, but assistant is there to help you do your job better, give you insights, help you put an email together just by asking it questions. The same as we use ChatGPT, same sort of way. It's really just a lot of people use it as an extended assistant. Obviously, it can go deeper. But I think, Breeze is fantastic. If people aren't using it, now's the time, because that really is that assistant that ties everything together from a data understanding and insights perspective across every part of the journey.
Yeah, it's interesting. It used when it was Copilot, it was had a really limited understanding of your business, and every conversation felt like it started from scratch. Whilst it had a host of good usage, it was like you're starting from kind of net one. But now it really feels like, from what we've seen, it's going to support your sales and marketing and service goals. It's going to have, like that ChatGPT like idea of it, some retaining of memory, really working with you, not necessarily autonomously on the side. It's just kind of an AI tool processing one-to-one requests.
Is the assistant similar, or is it separate from the insights tools that are across everything? So when you're in specific hubs and you're like, give me insights here, is that using the assistant or is that different? Do we know?
That's a technical term, but of course, as you know, I'm the most technical person on this call, and I understand everything.
The only reason I ask is because sometimes when you use,
I think it's all connected.
It's about you get feedback saying, I don't quite have the right information for this, and I think I'm just bringing it back to that unified word where we started with. All these tools and these AI assistants and agents will become and be as powerful as they can as the data they've got. So I think it's about thinking through all of that. So as we start to unlock and use these tools and we come across those roadblocks, it's about how do we make sure that we've got everything set up so that these tools do leverage what they need to leverage to give me what I need.
Yeah, 100%. And you've got Breeze Assistant, you've also got a Custom Assistant. So Tony, agents, assistants, can you break it down for the viewers? What's the difference?
Or listeners, wherever you're coming to us. So you're talking about customer agent.
Agent versus assistants,
Yeah. So as I say, think of it as an assistant, obviously, that's there for you to ask questions. So you're asking it questions and it's giving you an answer. That's pretty much how assistants kind of work. Agents go that bit deeper because they added these things, like Lenny was saying, they're adding insights into it. So the good thing with Customer Agent, as the name suggests, it was just originally released to just be on Service Hub and just to help people understand how we're looking after our customers post-purchase. But now Customer Agent, think of it now more as a concierge that goes with sales, that goes with marketing, and into obviously service where it was before. So Customer Agent is a real game changer, I think, because it's giving you, it's more than just your kind of ChatGPT. And by the way, I think you may have heard that HubSpot's just about to release if they haven't already, the connection with Gemini. Yeah. So the idea is bringing, instead of trying to say that Breeze can do everything, it's kind of like, well, ChatGPT, OpenAI has a bit and Gemini has a bit. So why not let's use the sources together? So the insights are going to be deeper, not just within your portal of your activities that your customers are doing, how your marketing campaigns are working, how people are engaging with your actual content, but then sales teams can use it to see, well, how their deal's flowing. Or I want to do some ABM, so I want to actually go out and contact this particular person. So I want to actually go out of HubSpot because it's a net new opportunity and find out all I need to know about this new company or this new prospect, so I can actually tailor that one-to-one engagement, so I've got a better chance of actually getting in front of them and nurturing them through to a customer.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, I think the exciting part for that, is thinking through the full journey and where to employ what. So what agents can be used at marketing phase, and then off the back of a lead, what assistant could be used by
and where
internal
it makes sense,
teams.
right? Yeah,
so
absolutely.
When we're looking through a marketing strategy or even just an internal process, is thinking about, now we've got to think of that extra layer. What small tasks or things can we think AI can help us do, and building those little agents or assistants throughout the journey to enhance and improve the entire flow for internal teams and external customers.
Absolutely. And you got to think about that human AI collaboration. It's like agents are working autonomously, doing the tasks and running off and kind of gathering and actioning. Assistants are really there to do that. Assistants work with you. And, you know, as with any kind of employee, AI or not, we need a place to manage them. So the new Breeze Studio is really exciting. I think it's the place to manage custom agents and to manage and customize agents and assistants. Really, that's going to be, you know, fantastic and really exciting for us to not be limited to what really exists. The ability to kind of build your own customized agent is very exciting to us, and have multiple agents in platform. So, you know, Tony, where could you see marketers or sales teams or even ourselves using these agents and assistants?
Well, one of the things that obviously Breeze has is the Breeze Marketplace as well, where there's a bunch of agents that are on there. Obviously, the agents that we're talking about, there's customer agent. There's also prospecting agent, which is a really good one from a sales perspective that's kind of out there as well. And interesting enough, because we've actually created, as you guys know, some of our own ChatGPT versions to help us with briefs, you know, for clients when we're actually putting stuff together, even like RFQs. So, you know, so people actually, you know, sending you something and you've got to put your submission back to a particular request for a quote. There is, so I found out today, an RFQ agent that's in there. And Nicholas Holland told us, yeah. So the interesting thing will be there's probably an agent for everything. So if you think about what you do along that journey, and to me it still comes back to Express, like we were saying, you still need to map out the journey. The journey is for the customer, but behind the scenes, the business has to deliver that from first touch point, marketing, and then all the way through to service. So mapping out, for example, the sales team, you know, you've got to have that initial meeting. So you're going to have, hopefully already using things like the meeting calendar, you're recording the conversation that you had and connecting that within HubSpot. And there may be something in the future where HubSpot will actually even do that in the one place, hence the sprocket. Because all of those intels of what went on in that conversation with the sales team is then going to help the RFQ agent. So what I'm saying in a way is we're getting to a point where agents can hand over to agents, or agents can deploy another agent. And it's so funny because I remember, I don't know, it wasn't that long ago, but I when we first talked about chatbots, remember when chatbots came out? And I said, wouldn't it be amazing, like a chatbot's supposed to have one conversation about something, right? Support. You know, I've lost my login or whatever. But imagine if you went onto a website and that chatbot understood that you were interested in a new product, and it handed over to the product chatbot that then handed over to the next. So all this went on overnight, and in the end you wake up in the morning and you log on as your sales team and they've actually sold stuff overnight. Well, it seems that didn't happen, but this AI kind of revolution of, you know, the human's still in control. That's what we've got to remember here. The AI is not doing this without prompts. And direction. All it's doing is giving you smarter insights to grow better.
Absolutely. And it's about this idea of efficiency, but touching on that piece of insights. It's all about the data and ensuring what we've got and what we're feeding the agent is really important. So another really big deal, and something I'm actually excited about because I'm a bit of a data nerd, is the evolution of Operations Hub. So if you will, let's chat a little bit about Operations Hub under a new name, Data Hub. So I think before Ops Hub was really built for managers, devs, analysts, creating, you know, reporting purposes predominantly, or solving kind of complex problems that involve data. Today, it's really designed for all teams, making it more approachable, using data sets across the platform, from across your tech stack, offering AI-powered tools. So really what in turn scattered data into assets is helping non-technical users and technical users building customer data sets, you know, things like, the thing I'm really excited about, things like spreadsheet style interfaces, no coding required. All these things are music to my ears. It's just kind of providing it to be quite accessible.
You know, it's really interesting because it just reminded me of a stat that I think it was Yamini that shared this, that all of HubSpot's development, coding, 95% of it's done by AI. Which was amazing because this is why we're getting all of these new releases and things are happening more than they've done in previous years, because the actual development team that are working on, you know, HubSpot as a platform and the evolution are being able to think strategically and then get some heavy lifting and some testing and go to market a lot quicker by utilising AI. Ops Hub has been an interesting one, right? Because I remember when Ops Hub came out and we didn't really know what it was. Whenever it was almost like the poor cousin. Yeah. But the funny thing was
describe to them why they needed it and why
and what it was
hub and what it would do. Especially when it didn't have like a physical interface the way the rest of them really do.
Yeah, it was funny because I spoke to someone here and they said, the funny thing was, we used to try and explain Ops Hub and say, well, it's basically a data hub. So somehow they said, well, let's just call it Data Hub. Let's call it what it is. So it's so important because back to where we started with the word unified, right? Your data has to be unified. Now, it's going to be very difficult if your data is trapped or siloed or worse still, it's bad. How are you going to clean it up? And then once you clean it up, it's going to get dirty again, right? Because you're only cleaning it up. It's like cleaning your house and then just thinking, it's going to remain clean forever and not doing another house clean. So the idea of Data Studio and the fact of having it as a data hub is that it's going to be a lot easier for you to actually, report on your data, keep your data clean, using a lot of built-in AI guidance that will help you build out those data sets and those insights, because that's going to drive everything. We live in a world of data. We have to use our data to give us that intel and engagement, to understand how we're going to kind of deploy better, more efficient go-to-markets.
Absolutely. It's going to power that idea, Lenny, we were talking about around power segmentation and, providing more opportunities to speak to customers one-to-one.
Yeah, the main takeaway I took from it was just HubSpot are pushing the fact that by the tools having the right data, it's going to be powerful. But in instances, a lot of businesses have data that has to live elsewhere. So this tool provides a connection to be able to bring information in a simplified way. That's the way I'm seeing it. Even if it's just simply, it's about creating like a single column of one data set that means that the marketers now know if a customer's done X or if a potential customer has done X, that we can then send campaigns and structure stuff off that. So it sounds like for the people that have been doing kind of integrations and building unique systems to kind of get data into HubSpot to do cool stuff, that this is going to make it much easier for them.
Absolutely. Cool. And speaking about, Marketing Hub earlier, it's just going to continue to sort of power that hyper-personalised effect of being able to really understand who your customer is. And, by the time you get to sales, so from marketing sales, you'll be able to have a play in the new Sales Hub. So Tony, as a seasoned sales professional, what are your thoughts and what are you excited to see in the new Sales Hub?
Well, I think just going off the back of what you were saying about Data Studio as well is the fact that one of the things that we find, when we're talking to our customers who are on HubSpot, is how well are my sales team using the sales product, right? Because I bought HubSpot. Yeah. It's within our organization. We got 50 salespeople, but there might be 10 of them that are already using it. Some aren't, some whatever. So with a bolt-on to Data Studio like Snowflake, I think it's called, you can actually see product usage in detail, like who's using it, how are they using it, how can we better utilize it. So I think first and foremost is having this data hub sitting behind something like the sales teams that they can actually help make sure that the team are actually utilizing it more, because I think that's super important. I think as well, one of the things that came out, which kind of links into two things here, so I'm going to actually talk about another hub at the same time, but they reckon, you do all the work from marketing, you end up with all these leads coming in. So if you use the loop approach and all of these tools we're just talking about, the lead should flow in. But one of the big things that they found, and HubSpot have done a fair bit of kind of surveying on this, 86%, especially in the B2B space of deals, will stall at some point. So imagine you brought all these leads in and then for whatever reason, those deals will stall. So the idea with the new Sales Hub and some of the initiatives that they put in is that will help you identify with the data how these deals are progressing and what the blockages are, give you ratings on how likely they are to move forward. If a client looks like, a prospect looks like it's not going to convert and it's dropping, it will give you that kind of intel as well. But the other thing is, they've now bought, CPQ and quoting into Commerce Hub. which was music to my ears. I leant over to Brandon, who was he's our North American executive director, and I said, "Does that mean we don't use PandaDoc anymore?"
I was very,
I didn't know you were gonna
very
name drop
excited.
them.
Yeah, Lenny and I were talking about this morning. I was very excited to see that because I think Commerce Hub's probably the hub that has the least amount of love in APAC, and would love to see that CPQ coming from a personal perspective, from the business perspective. Even just that adoption would be fantastic. It would speed up a lot of our administration. Yeah.
Again, it's just keeping the same, that quote gets kept in the CRM, therefore
we're not double
more
handling.
data
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
leverage
And also, Lenny, don't forget as well, because your data's already in there, and I know that you can connect it like we use PandaDoc, so it can connect some information across, but because all of that data and intel has already gone through the marketing process and you've collected all the information, not just the name of the company and all that, but it's been building on all of that data, it will virtually write the quote for you. Because you know what products they're interested in. So, from a lazy salesperson's point of view, and I can say I am, it's actually going to build the quote for me, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go in. So it means you can get faster quotes out. It means people have a seamless way of, clicking accept and it comes back through and then they move through seamlessly into the service area.
Yeah, it's all about that starting point, right? Like it's the same with the marketing studio. It's about, starts with an idea, but it generates the bulk. It's rather than starting with a blank canvas, you're starting with stuff that's been generated based on knowledge. Same here with sales. So it's going to create you, Tony, that quote that's, 70% there rather than you starting with a blank kind of sheet. Yeah,
it's proactively helping you along the journey with things like the meeting prep and the follow-up, all in that kind of sales space now too. Ensuring I wouldn't say sales reps are lazy. I think they're just busy. And admin
Well, they're always selling.
Yeah, that's right. Admin doesn't entertain them. Closing the deal, the thrill of the conversation. That's where it's all about, right? So
you've heard me talk about it's it's the paperwork and the stats that have shown like 40% of a salesperson's time can be taken up with administrative stuff. So if you can take away 20% of that just by having things actually preset, two things are going to happen, right? One is you're going to have less quality issues. And secondly, you're going to have more selling ability because you're going to actually be able to convert. And I suppose thirdly, it's better for the customer. Like the funniest thing, and they used a couple of examples, and I've seen this as well. A customer, when they're ready to, a prospect is ready to buy from you, they get annoyed if you can't get them the quote quick enough and make it seamless for them to buy. If they've got to sit there for a week because you've got to do stuff manually and you know what I mean, it just streamlines the whole customer experience as well as makes it better to grow and to sell quicker and smarter.
Absolutely. It's what I keep saying, efficiency. We like efficiency.
Yeah, Yamini did say that, I think it was, that they said, the one thing is that the converting is become quicker.
Yeah, it's higher.
It's, the marketing part is taking a bit longer and for people to reach your website and then wanting to make contact, but the converting part is now fast paced. They're practically ready to go once they're...
Absolutely. You're going to get prospects and leads that are far more engaged, far more knowledgeable, far more further down the track. And if you're not ready to meet them at that point in time, then you're going to lose it.
Yeah. I think as well, we got to, we talked about lead scoring in the past. I mean, this goes beyond lead scoring because, if marketing's doing its job and the leads are coming through, the qualification process then starts to happen. But by having a smart CRM, which is actually just watching for things like buyer signals, like if they suddenly, because people are human, right? We're just using AI to understand basic human behavior. So what might happen is, a prospect may have got the quote, be super excited, and then it stalls because other priorities happen. So you kind of see it slow down. You can see that data slow down about the engagement these people have. Then all of a sudden there's a spike. They go back in, they reopen the quote, they go back to the services page to read again or show the CEO what it is they're actually doing. You can see all that. So then the salesperson knows to kind of re-engage again at the right time. So timing becomes important. And then obviously you can, move people down and stop that, massive thing of stalling leads.
Absolutely. And you touched on a really key, exciting feature that we haven't actually spoken about, which is the smart CRM. HubSpot's rolling out new features, making, HubSpot more unified and data and driven and AI intelligent, AI powered. And one thing they're really excited about is a standalone CRM. So take us through it, Tony.
Yeah. Well, this was an interesting one, right? Because we've have had, and obviously this is as new to us as it is to you guys. So we've had sort of side conversations, and I've asked people, and there may be an answer, and I just haven't made my way over to the HubSpot pricing desk, if there is such a thing at inbound. But the actual CRM. So remember when HubSpot started, it was the free CRM, right? You could buy the CRM for nothing. Yeah. And then the idea as the foundation, and then you would bolt on sales and marketing and service to it. And you'd pay for those based on seats or contacts. The CRM now, or the smart CRM as they're calling it, is now decoupled. It's a standalone. It's almost not a hub, it's a CRM, but you can get it on its own. Now, within the smart CRM, a lot of the stuff that we talked about today, so there's smart data built into the CRM, there's smart insights built into the CRM, and there's smart digest, as we mentioned before, which kind of shows you a snapshot of how the performance is working across your business. One of the things that they did add in there as part of this smart CRM component, which is something I'm really looking forward to doing, because in the hybrid world we live, events are becoming really, really important. That's where you're going to get your intel about how people really feel about a product or a particular service. So Project Object is now bought into. So there's the project capability now within that can be used for things like event mapping. So you can map what's happening in your real world back to what's happening within your CRM world as well.
Fantastic.
So super excited with that.
Taking those offline events to digital, right? Yep. We talk about it all the time. It's we have a lot of people that run events, and it's trying to make sure that we are capturing those insights, those customers, that activity, and the success of those offline events back into a digital environment.
Yeah, well, we would. I mean, it happens all the time. Like we just did today, a meet up with healthcare professionals, right? And for a few of them, what happens, and you might remember this, Lenny, when we worked with a client around their whole pathway, in terms of biomapping and. To get a referral, so a lot of times you have to go and get a referral from a doctor, to come back to actually buy the product. So what happens is that whole journey or the infinity track is broken, because at that point they have to go off. Now the doctors aren't online, so being able to map that through. So we're talking about that today, about how you can utilize certain ways to actually track that back through, because you don't want to lose the flow, right? As soon as we said before, if the infinity track is broken, then it sort of stops and you're not getting that seamless flow, the same as the marketing loop. So I think it's super important that, offline events, for example, or traditional events, physical events, like an actual, conference like we're here at Inbound, there's so many things here that is tracking us back. For example, an app. They get everybody to download the app. You give feedback on the app. You book your actual agenda on the app. You connect with people on the app. So all of these things are actually, in a way, keeping you in the digital journey, because they're tracking all that engagement. So much so, I haven't got my badge with me now, I don't think, no. But they've got these little green, or they're kind of white to start with, but to connect with somebody, you hold your badge with their badge, the green lights flash, and then you're connected. So they're actually tracking engagement at Inbound. How many people are clicking this and clicking that, as well as how many people are coming in and going. Like this whole thing has turned into a digital journey that's happening in the real world.
Yeah. Fantastic, super exciting to see that. We'd love to see some pictures, and it'd be interesting to see what the metrics are like, not just for HubSpot promoting, an event that's promoting their product, but they're bringing a bunch of partners and customers together in a room. It'll be really interesting to see how much activity you've got and connection amongst each other. Like that's something I don't think anyone ever really tracks, is this idea of metrics around networking and providing value and, connection for your customers and your customers' customers. So that's exciting.
But it's all around engagement, right? We often talk about it on the digital journey, but as soon as you start to have events and stuff like that, I got some really good stats as well around, another client that had actually used the process of creating events, but events that lead into events. So they become almost like a mini campaign. So then it's kind of set up and managed through, something like Marketing Studio, where you're going to map out this as almost like a campaign. It might start with a small event. A webinar, for example, because even webinars, there's new AI with webinars to make them more engaging and to reutilize the content from a webinar, so it keeps giving like snippets of the content, to build your library. But that webinar turns into an actual smaller event where people get together because there's targeted people, you know what they're interested in, and that turns into maybe a bigger event down the track. So it's all of this campaign stuff of understanding how do you engage people, not just in the digital world, but in the real world as well, because that's where we're living. I think one of the interesting things, I don't know if we had it on the list here, but again, a big game changer with me was this new term AEO versus SEO. The funny thing is and it goes back to what Yamini was saying, is the fact that they're not on your people aren't on your website anymore. Eventually they get there because they click on a landing page and they come, but they're not just searching. A lot of it is because, one, they don't have time to just go looking at websites anymore to find what they're doing. But secondly, that's not where they are. They're not on the internet looking at, websites and stuff. They're in social, they're listening to podcasts. They're doing all of these other kind of interactive things. So you need to go where your prospects are, not sit with your website for them to come to you. They will come to you, and that's where all the conversion and the journey stuff happens. But with marketing, we've got to actually get out to them and make sure that, we're bringing them back in. So I think there's a lot of things for marketers to think about. How do you incorporate events? How do you incorporate social? And all of those interactivities, so it becomes a wider net, if you like,
Absolutely.
of how your content's engaging.
They have released as a traffic source stat now as well. I think they've got AI referrals. So, you used to be able to get see traffic was coming from social, organic, and now you can actually see the amount of people that are coming from AI referrals, which is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I suppose I was going to say we should say, I've just used the word AEO without saying what it is, because there's nothing worse than you come out of inbound, you've got all these lingos and, So it's actually got two words. It's either answer engine optimization or it's AI engine optimization. So it's kind of like what's happening is people are having conversations with platforms like ChatGPT, and they're saying, I'm looking for a business that can do X and Y, but I need it to have this and I need it to have that. Now that's not how you used to utilize Google, right? But then they're going to, you're going to find some suggestions. Then you say, now break it down for me for one that's had experience in this industry or whatever. So you're having this conversation with anything, a platform like ChatGPT, and and we're finding people coming us because they've seen a case study or something like that in an industry that they're looking for someone to serve, and then you're going to get these leads. One of the frightening things is, I think when Yamini was across in Sydney for our Grow event, she said that they predict 25% of SEO traffic to drop by 2026. They went one step further on inbound and they said by 2028, a couple of years later, AEO will outride SEO. So more people in a couple of years will be searching for you, not through the normal search engine optimization.
Yeah,
so that's a game changer again.
It's not surprising at all. I mean, 60%, the stat they threw out there was 60% of Google searches today end in no clicks, which means people aren't finding the answer.
Yep.
And from a marketer's perspective or a business perspective, you've got to think about the type of content you're putting out there. Traditionally with search, it's matching phrases and keywords, whereas AEO, it's all about ensuring you've got the answer to somebody's really detailed, in-depth question in more than one place for the AI engine to return you as a possibility. So you've got to think about more content in a different way. Gone are the days of finding keywords and content stuffing and all those things. It's about how am I the answer to somebody's really in-depth question in a platform.
There's actually a beta out, a breeze beta for AEO strategy that you can request access to, but it's about helping you improve your AEO strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different thought process, and I think the proof's in the pudding, right? LLM traffic is really increasing in value for businesses, and if you're not focusing on it, you're definitely at a loss. It's converting at 4.4 times better than any other real search traffic. So people aren't really landing on your website in really clean ways. They're finding answers through LLMs these days, and their deep research.
But we also don't forget that goes one step further, right? So people are actually asking questions to get the answers as companies, and that's why they're finding us through that. But also video. video for, they said, this was Wistia did a session that I was at today where they were saying that how-to videos are still, years later, outperforming any other type of video, brand, entertainment, whatever. So how-to videos, people want to be shown how to do something. So I think that's important. This how-to kind of movement is still very, very strong, hence why people are using it more when they're using AEO to kind of find stuff. But don't forget, it's also to think about it around the content that you're using within marketing, especially when it comes to video.
One of the thoughts that popped in my head a while ago and then left, and it's just come back, but...
as often happens in terms of...
No, I just think we were talking
often
about
it never comes back.
Customer agents. And, when chatbots were around, I feel like there was a kind of missed, I don't know, some buyers just wouldn't interact. It's like, people, I don't want to talk to a bot. And the new world where everyone is using AI, I feel like having something like a customer agent on a homepage, the buyer behavior, I feel, is going to change, where maybe people are going to be impatient and don't want to use a website navigation. They don't want to scroll and click.
Agreed.
They just want to
guilty
go,
right here.
I'm on your website. Ask something and give me it.
Already my buyer behavior, if I need to find and I'm really direct. I think it comes down to the visitors you're getting are more inclined to. They're not in research mode anymore. They're in act mode. Yeah. So being able to connect with someone, even if it's in an AI form, and there's that perception of you're going to get to your answer much quicker. You're going to get to your end destination much quicker.
They talk about the click. It used to be about the clicks. And I feel like this way of chat will become the new quick way to find your answer, right? And that's why people are using ChatGPT, because they don't want to search and then scroll and click on three answers.
Yeah, that's right.
They want to be able to get an answer and then ask a follow-up question on that answer to refine to get what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. Agreed. Cool. Well, we could go
I think as well, if you remember... Sorry, I was just going to say, sorry, Mel. I was just going to say, it reminds us like an earlier interview we had with Nicholas Holland, where he said, if you get the choice, you go to a website and it says, would you like to wait 10 minutes to speak to a human, or would you like to jump on a call with our customer agent right now? What do you want to do? And to Lenny's point, more people are going to click that customer agent than wait for a 10-minute, because both of those two, the human and the customer agent, are using the same database.
That's right.
They've got the same information. So as long as the experience is good and fast and quick and personal, because that's where we're getting this data that's driving and more personalised, so that when you get to the customer agent, it'll be, hi, Lenny, good to see you again. I know we haven't seen you for two weeks since you last came to the gym, or whatever it might be. So all of a sudden it becomes a lot more personal.
And the AI agent's learning. Like that's the key thing. Like back in the day, a chatbot was a very, very prescriptive script. Ask this, have this keyword, give these sorts of answers. So I think it's a definite different era where a person can interact with a chatbot and get a personalized experience. And it has been absolutely fantastic to talk about all these features. I feel like we go on and on and on and on and have such a deep discussion about all of these things, but proofs in the pudding, and really just getting in there and finding some time to act and look through the betas and the updates and everything ourselves. But I know, Tony, you had a host of fantastic kind of facts and some high-level stats. Did you want to send us off with some final thoughts?
Well, I'm actually going to send you off just when you think you've watched this whole episode and you think, now I understand it. How about if I went to this, at the end of Partner Day, we had this, and I had a meet and greet, which I think we'll put some pictures up every now and again, but a guy called Zack Kass, who's a futurist, but worked across OpenAI and was, responsible with a lot of the team there at bringing us ChatGPT. Shared with us, really interesting keynote at the end of Partner Day. And it's all about the future. So I thought, why don't we, instead of starting with the future, let's end with the future. Like, where is this going? Like, it's exciting. There's so many things happening. But, one of the things is machine learning or machine intelligence is getting cheaper, right? Look into that, whatever you will. But he gave us an example, like ChatGPT per million tokens, whatever that means. Back in 2021 was $10 for a million tokens. In 2025, this year, it's $1.50. So again, it's showing you how this machine learning is just going to keep, it's not a money barrier. It's investment can keep being added. But we're in this era from, he said here, 2022 to 2026. of enhanced applications, which is what we're talking about on the show today. So all of these enhanced applications, customer agents, assistants, the intelligence, all the stuff you're using around AI. From 2026 to 2035, they're going to become autonomous agents, and we're going to be building. And this bit was a little bit scary. It kind of, I was thinking about this, these movies you watch with a second dimension. But the idea is we're actually working towards building a agentic web, which will actually sit next to the current web. And you're kind of like, how does that work? But this agentic web is this stuff of all this learning and these agents and all this kind of stuff, whereas the traditional one somehow will still sit there. But fast forward even more, 2035, he is called a futurist, even though I did question him. I said, why are you called a futurist when half the futurists, well, every futurist, as far as I know, didn't predict COVID? So he said, I don't use that too much anymore. But he's got a lot of fact because he's built things like ChatGPT. But he said by 2035 and onwards, we'll be talking about what's called natural language operating system. Basically, that means there will be no more physical stuff. It will be screenless, the world, and it will be seamless. So
it's
imagine
only like 10 years away. That's literally only like 10 years away.
So
I know.
there's
2035
no
when he
escape
used to
at
say
that
it.
Absolutely. This is wild.
You can't put your phone down.
Screenless.
Yeah.
What are all the electronic companies going to be doing?
Yeah, I know. Imagine just you talk into something. It must be voice activated or thought. I don't know. Work into it. But how do you
machines are
prepare?
always listening.
A couple of things just to think about. So this is from him. This is the guy, that did those predictions. Learn how to learn. I think one of the big things. There's so much out there, but learn how to learn. Like you got to think about, like, what do I need to learn? I don't need to learn everything, but learn how you're going to learn, how you're going to embrace something, and then optimize for humanistic qualities. Right? There's things that AI won't replace. Or won't do it very well, and that's adaptability, curiosity, empathy, courage, and wisdom. They're very human traits that we all have, so the idea is to double down on those, keep those humanistic qualities, and just use AI as the support. One thing they said here, it's smarter, faster, and more human is the world we're moving into. Humans will lead, and AI accelerates.
Absolutely. And I love that learn how to learn. I think it's interesting that we all go through our period of formal learning, but when you speak to anyone that is talking about whether a futurist or an ideologist or anyone that's kind of in this idea of creating ideas and innovation, one key thing you will always hear from them is something they've learned, something they've read. They've all had their own different style, but that thirst for knowledge and curiosity never really goes away. Cool, perfect. Thank you so much, Lenny, for joining me in studio. Thank you, Tony, for letting me, babysit your host seat. I'm happily handing.
Actually, no, Lenny's in my seat. You're in your seat. He's in my seat.
This is my better.
We all know who's the host, the real host.
Absolutely. We all know who loves.
Guys, I'm just the traveller.
Show.
I'm the guest. It's been great actually being a guest for once. I can see what our poor guests have to go through on the other side of the fence. But it is awesome here. We've got one more day in inbound, and then obviously we have more to tell. And we'll probably weave it into our future episodes. But obviously, as you said, Mel, the next one you'll tell them what's going on. But we're actually filming that tomorrow, so I'm super excited to do a future under the hood to back this one up.
Very, very exciting. Yes, gladly passing the baton back over to Tony so he can be the host. I've had enough of this hosting business. It's too much work. I'd rather just show up as a co-host. But don't forget to subscribe to Under the Hood so you never miss an episode. We've expressed this one so it should hit your inboxes quite quickly. And Tony is very excitingly diving under the hood and even deeper into loop marketing with two special guests right from the floor of inbound. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. You've got to subscribe if you want to find out who's going to be on the show. But that idea of loop marketing is a game changer. As Yamini said, the funnel was dead. Tony said it was already dead many, many years ago. So let's work out what's
They said
next.
It was dead. Like it's never been alive. It's 1800s, by the way, was when the funnel came out. It should have died ages ago. Who lives to 125? Anyway, what I was going to say as well is it will look a little bit different. So our normal Under the Hood studio that you can see there right now with Lenny and Mel, I've gone and checked it out. It's actually on the inbound floor. It's in the creators studio, glass walls, and we're all sitting on beautiful leather couches, just like the good old days, Lenny. leather couches and microphones and having a good old deep chat for our next Under the Hood.
Love it. Well, thank you again, everyone. Have a great the rest of your day, and thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and listen to us unpack a few more of these features. I'm sure we're going to have much more discussion in many more episodes to come. See you later.